the deep recesses of one's mind, there is a voice, a guiding light through the darkness, a connection to the other side.
You're ready to wake up, you're going to wake up. And if you're not ready, you're going to stay pretending that you're just a poor little me.
A pathway to spiritual that echoes with enlightenment. The voice of spirit.
The voice of spirit.
You are a function of this total galaxy, bounded by the Milky Way, and that furthermore, this galaxy is a function of all other galaxies.
Your journey starts here and now. With your host and connection to spirit, Leo Bonomo.
Hi, welcome to Core Radio and myself, Leo Bonomo. I've got another wonderful guest called Samantha Jayne, who we're going to be talking to very soon. So if you want readings or you want to call in, chat, you can do it on 702-4259230. And if you do want to donate, that's great. We've had some donations in, so if you would love to, we would love to have them. Thank you. Okay, I've known Samantha now for quite some time, and she's a psychic medium, tarot reader. She's also a physical medium, and she's been providing readings for clients all over the world for around 16 years, and her work has been featured on numerous radio shows, and she's appeared on Sky TV. If you're in the UK, she's based in Swindon, and she's done everything from private readings to the paranormal, entity removal, space clearing. She provides training in the psychic arts and healing, as well as platform work and private sittings. And I know she's done some platform work with some named mediums, if I put it like that, or certainly very well known. So it's quite a mix, but very full bag, isn't it, Sam?
It is indeed.
It's always good to...
You go where spirit sends you, don't you? And spirit always develop you, and they have a plan. You may not be privy to the plan, but they always have a plan.
Yes, I've found that to my disgust at times, I've got to say, when it's like, you find yourself somewhere and you think, oh my God, what's happening?
Oh yes, we've all quit at some point for about 2 minutes. Yeah.
Exactly. So let me welcome you to the show. It's really, really nice to have you on. Straight off, I think we'll get your site mentioned. So it's www.needapsychic, so that's all one word, .co.uk. And you can text Sam if you want. Give you the international number. It's 44794837296, and you can get on Twitter, that's Head Diva, and on Skype, Mystic_Samantha. So lots of ways to contact you. They can find you on Facebook as well, can't they? So that's wonderful. Fantastic. So tell us a little bit of how you got started, how your interest was piqued.
Well, to be honest with you, Leo, I've been, it's my only sort of link to Lady Gaga, really, in that I was born this way. And I don't know any different. I have to confess, I don't know any different. But it did take me, this is where I sound really stupid, till 28 years of age to realise that not everybody is the same. And not everyone's in the same experience,
Yeah. Well, I know, if you're not in this and you're not connected, it may sound a little odd to say, well, I knew about it, but all of a sudden at 28 the lights came on. But it can happen like that, can't it?
It can indeed, and looking back now, I find it kind of fascinates me that it happened at 28, because 28 numerologically wise, I can never say that word, most people will go through something in their 28th year, which is a life changer, and it certainly was for me. But I just thought that everyone was in the same experience, and therefore everyone else had an understanding of what was being said and what wasn't being said, so I could yeah, quite interesting childhood. Always saw animals, always saw people. Yeah, like Noah's Ark. I lived in Noah's Ark, it felt like. Not that we had pets as such. It was just reams and reams of animals following us around in the house. But I used to see lots of people as well. Lots of spirit would walk through me as a child. I look back, I was doing transfiguration at about 11 years of age because, to pass the time of day, I would stare in the mirror and watch, as you do, stare in the mirror, watch my face change into other faces. And it sounds crazy to say I didn't see what was strange about that, but hey, there you go.
Exactly. We've had a similar sort of childhood like that because, again, I saw spirit from very young and many sort of wonderful things. And like you, I did lots of other jobs. If any prospective employers are out there, not counting this one, I've done 47 different jobs. I know it sounds totally unemployable, but some were quite short, and I was a jeweler, and during the summer there's nothing to do, so I did several jobs while I was doing that, so it's not quite as it seems.
No.
But during that time, spirit had still been there for me, but in the background, and then they sort of creep forward, don't they?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so towards the 80s, and just after the 80s was when they become more prominent, and I started to do formal training, really. But we had an interesting guest on the other week, Christine Garnier, and like yourself, she had something of a trauma which kick-started life for her, and I don't know about your trauma, but hers was quite horrific. I'm sure you've heard of Harvey Weinstein and the sort of Hollywood scandal, the casting couch scenario, all that.
Yes, okay.
And she actually disclosed that she was violently raped. She didn't even know him at the time. And that kind of, she, like us, she saw things all the time, but that trauma kind of kick-started. So it's interesting that you mentioned something similar. Not similar as being raped. We won't go into that if you don't want to know. But trauma, because people have accidents, don't they? Things
this is it. And I think, I always say to my clients, even in our darkest moments, we find the greatest light, and that's our biggest awakenings. And that's basically what happened to me. And I was pregnant, as pretty much homeless, unemployed, single, and I was just literally on my knees. Sounds ridiculous, but I was begging and pleading, for God to take my life because I hadn't got the strength to do it myself. Clearly, it didn't happen. But in that passing of that night, while I stayed awake like that, fortunately, because it's turned into a gift to me, a spirit decided to attach itself to me and try to assist me in the process of passing over every night for months and months and months. And so my first thing was about my first experience in that sense was about being dragged out of the body and things like that. Prior to that, I'd had the typical things because I used to be in the pub trade of shouting at spirits, ghosts, whatever you wanted to call them, in pubs and things like that. Thought nothing of that either, which sounds crazy now, threatening spirits to get them removed if they didn't stop goosing staff behind the bar and all these crazy, only in England, and all, I think. You can let me know if I'm wrong on that one. But and it just sort of went from there, really. So, as I say, fortunately, stroke unfortunately, my awakening came through quite a dark awakening, which is why I strive to help people in similar situations. So, but I absolutely love it, Leo. It's my complete and utter passion. And if I help one person each day, I'm happy.
Well, I mean, spirits say, if you help one person in life, then life is successful. And I think we're blessed to work every day. And I can't speak for you, but I certainly hope I help someone. I know you do, but so it's interesting because I also reached a point when I was quite young of feeling very, very ill.
Right.
And I'm just going to get rid of the phone. For some reason, it went off and there's nothing on it. Spirit again.
There you go.
And just surrendering to it, say, take me. And I was quite happy, if that's the phrase, to just go asleep and pass. And of course, I woke up. I think a lot of mediums have had that feeling of disconnection with their body or another moving in. Into our space. So describe for us how you physically felt about I suppose it's fair to call it an invasion, because it was a way of trying to complete what you wanted, but it was still forced, wasn't it? Because it obviously wasn't meant to happen.
Yeah, wasn't meant to happen. I mean, what would happen was there is a state, isn't there? I think we call it the alpha state, just before you fall asleep. So I would be lying in bed, and as I was literally seconds from falling asleep, where you can't really control your body, you're kind of out of it, if you get what I mean. And I would see this man's face appear over my face, look at me, and then the hand would come down to the throat and pull me out of body through the throat. And I would bounce on the ceiling all the way down the stairs. And every time I got to the front door of the house, then it would stop, and I would just go shoot like a rocket back into the body. But honestly, Leo, I felt physically black and blue constantly from that experience, night after night after night. For months I had that. I think that lasted for 4.5 months. I had that every night. Very tiring.
Yeah, because that in itself's traumatic, but it's a drain of energy, isn't it? Do you feel...
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just going to... Very unprofessional. Need to turn that off. You never get a call, and then all of a sudden you do.
Always the way. Always the way.
So, do you feel that the that front door was, in a sense, a physical and spiritual barrier? That if you got through that, because that was the impression. That's how it felt. Wow. So that, because I think a lot of people assume that mediumship is all quite fluffy and light and wish that it would, but it's not.
No, I live in the real world, as it were, and scientists would agree, where there is a positive, there must always be a negative, and that's how the world works. So we have to understand both if we're to be well spiritually in this world. That's my belief. My belief. Of course, each to their own, but that is my belief, and that comes from my awakening.
Yeah, and I agree with you absolutely. Again, there's being a medium is a bit of a fashion statement, and so people come into it for all the wrong reasons, really. But they do have this image of everything being as you grow and develop mediumship, that everything's light and fluffy. But a lot of mediums do have hard lives, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't change it for anything. But of course, our training ground, our teaching is our own lives. So we do tend to have gone through a hell of a lot very early and very quickly in life as our education. I always say when I'm teaching, I can teach people to read cards, to read energy, all the rest of it till the cows come home. But I cannot teach you compassion. Your life has to teach you compassion. That can't be taught. And I think that's what it boils down to, basically.
Yeah, because again, when you've lived through things, I've said this before. If you're doing a reading, it's one thing just patting someone on the hand and going, "There, I understand." But when you've been through it, there is an extra energetic connection, isn't there? And I think we're like agony aunts, really. And you have to experience it to understand it.
Absolutely.
Fantastic.
We're life coaches.
Yes. It's funny how somebody will always make a trade out of something, because I can't remember when life coaching really, I think it's at a peak now, but it sort of started a couple of decades ago, I think, didn't it? When someone thought,
Yeah.
we'll name it this and make some money.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's always something
all
to
you
twist,
need,
isn't there?
well, you just need that one light bulb moment, don't you? I always think, and that opens the door to new possibilities in your life. It's just having that moment of something clicking.
Yeah,
That's the power of it.
absolutely. Now, I know that you've done a lot of different things. You're a physical medium, trance medium as well.
Yeah.
But sticking with some of the physical things that happened,
Yeah.
you used to do ghost nights, didn't you? And we had a wonderful experience
Yes.
at a place. And
Yes.
tell us a little bit about that, because I've been on ghost walks and things and nothing have happened. And then the crew there that are perhaps not as how can I put it, as genuine as they should be, and they try and concoct, an atmosphere. Yeah. So I've been on lots, but this one really was very active, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, my philosophy always with working with spirit has been to do things with love and to do things with respect. So I'm not one of these people that will, and it's becoming all the rage now here in the UK to stand there and scream at spirit. And you know what I mean? It's like, God, show some respect. You wouldn't do that to someone still in physical body. I see no difference between the respect I have for the living, to those who've lost the physical body now. You treat them with the same respect. So I prefer to engage with them rather than, aggravate them. But yeah, we did, the event you're talking about was in an aircraft shelter, which was now a go-karting place close to my hometown. And what we like to do is play the music from the war times, things like that, just to build energy and atmosphere that spirit will engage with. But do you remember how they all came out to sing? Oh, that was so emotional. Oh my God, that was so emotional. Watching hundreds of soldiers and pilots, whatever, coming forward in spirit world, emotional, and singing to the White Cliffs of Dover was something I will never forget as long as I live. Let's be honest.
One of the things that really struck me, and I think we were probably 15, 20 minutes into the evening, into the active part of the evening, because obviously we have to sit down and talk, and there's and we came out of what was ostensibly a workshop where there was a guy, I think he was a sergeant if I remember correctly, but certainly someone in charge of the workshop that didn't like women and could be quite abusive.
Yeah.
He didn't really appear, did he, that night for whatever reason? No. And we came out and there was a light on in the cafe where we were. And I can't remember who it was. It might have been yourself, said very quietly, just look over there. And there was a gentleman, plain as day, studying us. And he was there, I think, for about 20 minutes, walking up and down, looking at us, turning round, pacing up and down.
Marching. Yeah. I remember that so well.
Yeah, and some people took video of it, didn't they? And that, and to me, that's like, what a great start to an evening.
Yeah, because there's photos of that on my website. There's a photo of him on my website. Yeah,
I must be and nick that.
Yeah, go and have a look. But I love how spirit are able to physically form. I don't think people appreciate how much that takes to physically form like that. But again, that's why we fill the place with the energy of music and love and all of that, because that gives them energy to use. But it's also why people go home from paranormal events and things like that feeling like they've been hit by a bus the next day, because spirit have drained every ounce of energy out of them. I mean, we all know and joke that you have to bring about 20 times as many batteries as you think you need for your camera or whatever, because they suck the life out of those. But people forget that they will suck the energy out of you as well. But yeah, great fun. Yeah.
I've got to say, it was definitely my most memorable ghost hunt. Because it was so active. Because lots of people claim about it being active, don't they? And you kind of go, yeah, okay, and lots promised, and sometimes very little happening. So that takes us quite neatly onto physical mediumship. And we were encircled together when I think it was about a year, wasn't it? Something like that.
Yeah.
And again, most people, it's interesting that you mentioned the Victorian seance, because a lot of the Victorian stuff was done in the dark, wasn't it? And
Yes, because I'm doing a Victorian seance night tomorrow at a hotel here called Chiseldon House Hotel. And I just love the venue, something about the venue. And it's got, it's beautiful food, beautiful people, and beautiful energy. So, and it's got in it is Dr. Borelli, who obviously was a doctor, who I'm told diagnosed himself with cancer or something like that, and committed suicide in the thing. But he's quite fascinated by me. I've actually got photographs of him stood at the window clear as day looking at me. So I'm hoping he will come to dinner tomorrow night. So if he's listening.
I'm sure he'd love a date, yes.
Yeah. So we're all going for beautiful dinner, and then we're doing I call it traditional Victorian seance. So, candles going, joining hands on the table. None of the faking it, because obviously, that physical mediumship in the UK here began through these Victorians.
Yes.
As in it came out of the closet, because they used the rich here in the UK in the Victorian era used it to entertain dinner guests. They would bring a medium in after dinner, if you were wealthy enough to afford one, to put on a show. So to be truthful, probably 80% were faked.
Yep.
There's a fabulous film called The Awakening, actually, on Netflix. I noticed the other day. But anyway, but because of that, it brought physical mediumship into the limelight that little bit more, and the genuine ones were able to be sort of more open about this area of work. So so we shall see. We'll always have bangs and crashes and sensation when we're in there anyway. I did a platform night there once, and every time I asked him a question, the radiators banged. It was hysterical and embarrassing at the same time, because I was like, knock once for yes, twice for no, and lo and behold, he only did it.
Well, they do have a great sense of humour.
Yes, they've got nothing to lose now.
Well, yeah, I hadn't quite thought of it like that, but I'll make you right. Yeah, we're going to go into a break in a moment. And we'll talk about your physical mediumship, because we sat in the light, didn't we? Or slightly dimmed light. Yes. So we're going to talk about that. So if anyone wants to call in, 7024-259-230. And do give us a call on that. So if you need to ask Sam anything, or have any general questions on anything at all, do call.
This is the voice of spirit, your connection to the other side.
To understand something spiritually, you must experience it. And in order to experience it, you have to experience it in your imagination.
Explore with us by calling 702-425-9230. That's 702-425-9230.
Give us a call now.
Worldwide callers use Skype name KCOR Radio.
Everything that now exists was once imagined. Therefore, everything that is going to exist must first be imagined.
Back with your guide to spirit, Leo Bonomo.
Leo Bonomo.
After these brief words from our sponsors.
Hello, KCOR radio listeners. Lori and Fenton here from the Fenton Files. Let me ask you, now that disclosure's happened, what does it mean for ufology? Will it change anything? To get the current disclosure answers and learn of alien encounters, the inside of UFOs, the Anunnaki agenda, California UFO hotspots, and so much more, join me at UFOCon 2018 in South San Francisco, California, March 23rd through 25th. Visit caufocon.com, that's caufocon.com, and prepare for the truth.
We interrupt to bring you this.
Would you like to advertise on KCOR Digital Radio Network?
This is what I'm talking about.
At a fraction of the cost of traditional radio advertising, why not?
Tell them the good news.
Whether you need to promote your next book, product, or service, we can customize a package for just about any budget.
Finally, there is hope for the hopeless.
Why limit yourself to a tiny local market when KCOR can brand you to the world?
Here's all you do.
Visit KCORradio.com or contact our sales department by email at saleskcorradio.com.
We want it now!
See the difference with us by letting us work for you.
This ain't reality TV!
The KCOR Digital Radio Network. KCOR Las Vegas.
All the time.
Of course I listen.
I listen all day. It's the best music.
KCOR, the new underground source for news, talk, and music at KCORradio.com. Tell your friends, email them, or Facebook them, or Twitter them.
Hey, are we done here? Because I'm losing my buzz.
In the shadows, a voice cries out. Evidence that you're not alone.
You said my name. What is your name?
Proof that the living and the dead coexist. Or do they? Every Wednesday night, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, join writer, producer, and paranormal investigator Greg Bakken on Ghost Box Radio as he explores, interviews, and investigates evidence alongside some of the best in the paranormal community and beyond.
6 people killed.
Ghost Box Radio, Wednesday nights exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network, because the dead don't sleep. Ghost Box Radio.
Welcome back to the Voice of Spirit, your connection to the other side.
There's no accidents in this universe. We all show up here with a purpose. There's an intelligence that is a part of everything and everyone, and all of us are connected to it.
Connect with us on Twitter by using hashtag KCOR. Even better, join us live in our chat room at KCORradio.com. To get a free reading during the show, call 702-425-9230. That's 702-425-9230.
Give us a call now.
Worldwide callers, use Skype name KCOR Radio. And now, inspirational clairvoyant medium, psychic, and your connection to the spirit, the host of the Voice of Spirit, Leo Bonomo.
Hi, welcome back. We're talking to a good friend of mine, Sam, and she's been involved in all kinds of spiritual mediumship and psychic work, and very active in lots of different directions. And we were talking, Sam, weren't we, about physical mediumship, and there's quite it's still a minority, I think, but there's quite a lot of people now doing the old-fashioned seance, but in light, aren't they?
Yeah.
And
definitely.
yeah, and we sat for about a year, and my personal preference is to sit in the light, because we used to video it, didn't we, and get some quite amazing things happen.
Yeah.
Tell us a couple of things that have happened while we were sitting.
Well, it's we were instructed, because we always follow our orders, to switch, because like a lot of people, we began sitting in dark and then got told no, we had to sit in red, and then actually it switched to blue, if you remember.
Yep.
We were sitting in blue light, so it was slowly bringing us up through the spectrum. But what I will never forget is that we were connecting with other things of other worlds and actually sort of feeling like the platform connected the two worlds together. Do you remember that? Like literally watching it like a column in the middle form.
Yeah.
But always seeing people stood in the middle looking at us, the emotions. I've got photos where children's pictures have appeared on the wall behind us. Do you remember that one?
Absolutely.
All sorts has gone on. And obviously that's when the trance work fully kicked in and the voice work as well. And little old ladies and having conversations and things like that. But no, it always fascinates. I absolutely love to interact with spirit. But it is very draining. I don't think people realise that it takes your physical energy to do physical circle work. You know?
It does, and of all the types of mediumship, trance, I suppose, even heavy trance is on the lighter side of it. But as you get deeper and deeper into physical, it does shorten lives as well, doesn't it? Lots of medium. Some have lived to a good old age, but a lot, it's a big drain. And this is something I think skeptics don't appreciate. They go, well, you're fake and you're doing this, you're doing that. But if we have this love and no fear of passing, we give up our bodies, don't we?
I've just never had an issue with trusting spirit. I joke, it's the living you don't want to trust. The living will always do you more harm than the dead. But that's a whole other show.
Exactly. Yeah,
that's called life. But it's always fascinating. It can be very emotional. I remember the very first time that I did voice work. My mum was visiting me, and I was running a regular physical circle. As always with spirit, they tricked me into it. I wasn't expecting it. Just suddenly, boom, I was gone. I'm on a beach. But my great-grandmother sat in my body and talked to my mum, who shouldn't have been there, who was there as a guest, as it were, because she was visiting me. And I said, oh, you might like to come and join in, as you do, because she is a medium as well. And I was, funny enough, I was talking about this at the weekend, because my mum was just completely and utterly floored, and still is to this day, because she would, you know how it is when you think, I would love to have 5 minutes with my gran to talk to gran again. Do you know what I mean? But because it was so unplanned and unexpected, and so very clearly my gran apparently, and my great gran rather, her grandmother, my mum just sat there with her mouth open. Brain did not engage at all, and she could not think what to say. But you get that in physical circle. You do get that. I call it psychic amnesia, where you just can't think of questions to ask and stuff like that. It's quite interesting how the energy plays with the human mind and the human body in order to form that.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, that happens to me. It's very, very rare I have sit-ins with other people, but if I do, I've got hundreds of questions and nothing to say when I get there. I think you're right. It is amnesia of some sort, and of course you're always going home thinking, you always go home thinking, oh, I've got this list here in my pocket which I forgot was there, and it's quite amazing. We've on the show in a couple of months' time, we've got a gentleman called Robin Foy, who I know you're aware of.
Lovely man.
And for Americans and others who may not know, there was an experiment called the Skull Experiment, very famous, ran for 5 years, and we'll talk more about that when Robin's here. But one of the things that came through and were videoed were what we would call aliens or extraterrestrials.
Absolutely. I've still got pictures of that. Yeah,
and we had one which would definitely come under reptilian, because he looked a lot like it's like a grasshopper, wasn't it? Partly.
Yeah, it's almost like they call it lizzies, don't they? But it is there, and I just think this is what people have to understand is when you start to go into the realms of physical mediumship, because it creates such powerful energy, you can't control which layer you are communicating with as such, as in you kind of go on dial up to all the layers of communication. And the work that we were doing in the physical work had gone that way. Do you know that I had Robin Foy check the photos and put his stamp on them?
Absolutely, yeah.
I couldn't remember if I told you that, if I'd kept that to myself, to be honest. But yeah, because it was not, we've brought through things that we would describe as not of this world. But I think it's just a transferal of energy and connection. I don't feel there's anything to fear. Like all the movies. I don't feel that at all. I think they're already here. They've been here forever. I think worlds just overlap. I don't think they are there is the gaps. Just like I don't feel there's a gap between here and the afterlife. I think it completely overlaps, and that's the point.
Yeah, it is a different vibration, isn't it? Just like a radio, isn't it? You're in radio 1 and you can't hear anything else, and you go to radio 2 and there's nothing else existing. But it was lovely that night because the reptilian that came through was about 7 foot tall.
Oh yeah.
And we're just standing there going, okay. And I can't remember what was said.
Woman's stomach. It was a bit like that, wasn't it? With a film where something comes out that woman's stomach.
Oh, Alien. Yeah. There it was, and it's like.
That. I think we held that for 20 seconds.
It was quite amazing, and again, it turned out to be yet another wonderful evening. And to be honest, it was a while ago now, so I can't remember what was said, but I know it was very enlightening, very entertaining. And I know one time because where we were holding the seance in your home, there was like it's not an alcove really, but it's a room without a door, isn't it? And there were cameras, at least 2 cameras, videoing different things, and we suddenly saw a movement, didn't we, down the back of the house, and it's shadows moving across, and we were watching that and commenting on it because the cameras weren't in that direction, and then it started to come through, and it appeared on the camera as it walked past us, and I think that's the time I think there were some children there as well, running around. So it's wonderful. I just love it. I just find the whole thing so fascinating, and I feel very sort of humble and blessed to be able to be part of these experiences. That's how I view it, and I just absolutely love it. So I have no fear of it. So people say to me, "Oh my gosh, how do you live like that?" But I don't really know any different, Leo. That's the point. I cannot imagine. People think, oh, it must be so weird to be you. And I'm sort of rolling my eyes left and thinking, no, actually, I think it must be weird to be you. Because I can't imagine not having this crew of guidance walking behind me going, shouldn't have done that, Look over there, look over here. Go back and shut that gate. I've had that. Didn't listen. The horses got out. But there you go. That's human nature. It always knows best, doesn't it? Yes. I find I've learned after the third or fourth time or fifth time, that I've done it again. Right, I must take mental note to self. Don't do that.
It's terrible. It's like no, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. Yeah, 10 minutes later.
Exactly. So you also read tarot. You're very well known for reading tarot, aren't you? And how did you come across that? Was that just something that you had an interest in, or did you suddenly think?
I always had an interest in it. I began purely as a medium, to be honest, and I was, but I always had an interest in the tarot, but I could not get to grips with it. And in the end, my great-grandmother stepped forward and she trained me from spirit to do the tarot. And it was like, throw the book in the bin Do you know what I mean? The first thing you should do is throw a book in the bin when it comes to tarot and let me teach you intuitively. And that's what she did every night for weeks at about 2:00 in the morning, whilst I was pregnant with my youngest child. But I absolutely love it. So the way that I work is I use the tarot to channel spirit's guidance. I'm not what I call them textbook tarot readers. And I take my hat off to them that they can memorize that much information. But I work on a psychic, intuitive level and picking up spirit's guidance into the messages through the cards. So that it really is a tool for me. And to be honest with you, it speeds me up. I know listening to me, you wouldn't think I have a problem with working too slow and speaking too slow, but the tarot speeds me up with understanding and translating the energy that spirit are giving me. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I've always known that things like tarot cards, or we do flower readings, or whatever it is, they're focus objects, and it enables you to get that link with spirit. And I was always found the best tarot readers, tea leaf readers, whatever you want to, whichever part you want to delve in. I've always found the best ones. It is spirit communication in the end. It's just a link. Yeah. And
I sometimes, to be honest, if you pay attention, I'm not even looking at the cards, Leo.
Yeah. And again, that's it's quite strange. I can read tarot as an object, so as a piece of card, but I can't read them in the normal way. This is a Seven of Swords, and I just can't do that. With me, it's a bit of an oddity. I haven't found anything I can't read, to be honest with you. And I know that sounds egotistical, but there's energy with everything, isn't it? And it's just if you can link with it, then that's fine. But the tarot cards, it's strange. It's like it's a piece of blank cardboard, but I'll still get something off it. I did get a reading one time to someone, and this was a reader on the lines. No disrespect to the lines, because I read on the lines as well. I think you've had some experience of that, but I had a tarot read. I use the term loosely because it was quite obvious they'd printed all the card explanations out, and they were just reading them from a list. Which to me, that's quite deceitful. Now they may have been practicing, but if you're practicing, then you shouldn't be doing it.
Exactly.
Like that.
Exactly.
So that was.
That's why I don't like all these free sites and free groups. That us, I get shot for this. That are sprouting up all over the place. Free readings, because it's just it's a responsible role. That's what people don't understand. Yeah. It really is a responsible role, and you've got too many people playing at it.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And again, I've been teaching for a long time as well. And one of the things that I teach my students and mention to clients as well, I am an honest person, but I also know, like you do, that if we put somebody wrong, we have to fix that when we pass over ourselves. There's a great responsibility, and I think generally that's not taught in development circles. It's like, this is what you do, this is how you connect, get out there and earn some money, and I think it's a great shame.
Yeah, definitely.
We've got someone called Raven's Pride. Hi, Raven's Pride, how are you? And she's posed a quick question for either of us about a reading, and the question is about the transport issues that she is having. So, would you like to answer that, Sam?
What was the name? What was the name again? Sorry.
It's called Raven's Pride, so it's a chat name basically. But
okay. Let me have a look, see what they'll give me. And a transport issue, you say?
Yeah.
Have a look.
It's nice that we can actually. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, no, carry on. What were you going to say?
It's nice that you can actually hear the cards shuffling, because sometimes I've had. Well, I think it's nice, so they know, people know it's happening. Because sometimes you can't hear anything. Go, I've shuffled these cards, and you think, oh right, yeah. So sorry to interrupt.
No, that's absolutely fine. Well, the strange thing is, it's almost like this is to push for a change and a shift, but needing to get comfortable with this shift and change. I don't have a real problem with transport, other than this change needs to come in and you need to let go of an aspect that you need to put into the past. Now, transport, that can be a literal or it can be a metaphor, because transport obviously links to our journeys in life. All right. So it may be that your transport issues are a reflection of something that needs to be let go of on your journey. We've just gone through this eclipse energy, very, very powerful, which is highlighted here in the cards as well. But there needs to be a change. We need to let go of things attached to the past as part of this and start to step forwards into a place of victory. You have new chapters to come. You have new beginnings. So any transport issues is almost like a subconscious fight with stepping forward. Does that make sense to you, Leo?
That does make sense. I think I know who Raven's Pride is, bless her. And you've actually highlighted a few things. To be honest, I know she will know what you're talking about. I hadn't put things quite together like that. I know it may sound stupid considering what I do, but I never remember readings. But I know that you've linked a couple of things, and all of a sudden a light's gone on in my head thinking, okay, that makes sense to me. So yeah, it's I think it's spot on. I would love to expand on that, but I think you've done such a wonderful job that I can't really add any more to it, other than to say that yes, there are car issues there, but there are linkages with a journey, which also, funny enough, is a life journey, but there's also an expected real journey that is waiting to come.
It's like we've got to let go of this car, of the car issues, take a different path, because I've got to let go of that. I always work on a spiritual path level. So it's like, to me, it's a reflective. So on two levels, yes, we have this car issue to fix, though I feel it's like, get rid of that plan, change your plan, whether that's a new vehicle or a new way of transport, a new way to get your transport. But actually, it's a reflection of needing to take a new journey. That is what I'm being shown, and this letting go. Does that make sense to you?
That does make sense, because I also know that there is physically a problem with the car, and one of the solutions.
I don't doubt that.
Yeah,
but get rid.
One of the solutions to having a new car is also a connection with a relationship that does get soured from time to time. So the solution is kind of linked to the sour relationship, and the sour relationship has been a cause of pain for some time. So you're quite right. Okay. It is that path as well. So brilliant.
Yeah,
so
it crosses over. So I hope it helps. But get rid, completely get rid.
Yeah, so it's Raven's Pride. It's finding that solution and physically changing that car, but also the other things that come along with it. So I know that she understands what we're talking about. So I'm sure it's been a great help. Fantastic.
Good.
Okay. So it was nice to see you or hear you. Nice to see you. Nice to hear you not only shuffling the cards, but there's that flow, isn't there? And you can always tell when a medium's really well connected, because it just pours out, doesn't it? And that's what happened.
Lip sync. I call it lip sync, where there's no time to think, because you don't need to think, you're channeling.
Absolutely. You know? Yeah. It just pours out. So it's a very wonderful thing. So are you doing any physical mediumship at the moment?
Not at the moment. I'm due to start again. I want to start another circle again, but you have to get the energies right of the mixture of the people to sit. There's no room for egos in physical circle, that's for sure. And that's what we have to be very careful about, because it takes absolute pure love vibration. So you cannot have any ego sat within the circle, because it works as a block. So we have to find, the purest energy, just like I have to create the purest space for it to go on in. So, as you know, they have me doing all these rituals.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, I will let the listeners know that when we've sat there, we have physically heard, because you were playing some music. This happened several occasions. You were playing some music which was nice and soft, but then we could hear physical drumming, couldn't we?
Oh gosh, yeah.
Indians physically drumming. Wonderful energy there. Yeah. And we've got a few minutes to go before the break, so I'll just be quick with this. But some people, they'll sit in a circle 10 or 15 years before anything physically happens. Now, a lot of that is actually due to the mix not being right. But people think, again, it's an instant thing, like the movies. We'll sit down, we'll have a circle, and it'll all happen. So there's quite again, it's this image, isn't it? It's nice that the movie industry sort of brings things to the fore so people are aware. Of course, there's always a taint. They Hollywoodize it, don't they? But people get these images in their minds and ideas of that's what it's like in the real world and real spirit connection, and it's not. Fantastic. Okay, so when we come back, there's something else that you're involved with, apart from the paranormal. That's entity removal and space clearing, that kind of thing. So we'll be talking a little bit about that and a little bit about your platform work. So we're going to go into break shortly. So if you want to talk to Samantha, it's a no, it's not. I'm looking at this as an English number. It's I can't talk. 7024259230. So if you want to call or you want to get us on the chat, please do call in, and any questions you've got, we'll try and answer. So we'll be straight back after this.
You've been listening to Leo Bonomo, the host of The Voice of Spirit. Live every Thursday, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. For more information on the show, guests, and host of The Voice of Spirit, or to book a private reading, please visit leo-bonomo.com. That's leo-bonomo.com. Your connection to the other side is just a phone call away. The Voice of Spirit.
It is amazing, is it not?
This is KCOR Las Vegas, home of the Digital Radio Network, broadcasting from a shack just south of Area 51.
Wait, that doesn't exist.
This is the KCOR Digital Radio Network. Now for the news.
In the deep recesses of one's mind, there is a voice, a guiding light through the darkness, a connection to the other side.
You're ready to wake up, you're going to wake up. And if you're not ready, you're going to stay pretending that you're just a poor little me.
A pathway to spiritual that echoes with enlightenment. The Voice of Spirit.
The Voice of Spirit.
You are a function of this total galaxy, bounded by the Milky Way, and that furthermore, this galaxy is a function of all other galaxies.
Your journey starts here and now. With your host and connection to spirit, Leo Bonomo.
Hi, welcome back. You're listening to Core Radio and Leo Bonomo. I've got a wonderful guest, Samantha Jayne. Samantha's does all kinds of different work, and we've been discussing some aspects of it, and we will be doing that. If you want a reading, then it's 70242592230. And if you want a private reading, you can get Sam on www.needapsychic. So that's exactly how it's spelled, NEEDAPSYCI. CHIC, can't read now, .co.uk. So you can get her there. Yeah, I know. And you can get her on Twitter if you want to. The international code to text her for reading is 44794837296, and you can also get her on Skype. It's mystic_Samantha. So please do. She's a wonderful medium, as she's demonstrating tonight as well. And very, very experienced. So if you do want readings, call tonight or call her direct. We were talking during the break, weren't we, of how people again imagine, because of what we do, that we have these wonderful insights into our lives and we don't put a foot wrong and everything happens. And actually it's the complete opposite. Yeah.
It's more of a train crash, really.
Absolutely. Because we get blinkered, don't we? Because we have to learn these lessons.
Yeah. I think, in my opinion, as always, I think it's because at the end of the day, we're spirit here for an experience as a human with free will existence. So I think, we're completely capable of hanging ourselves as the next person, because we're here for free will, and spirit sort of roll their eyes and go, well, if that's what she wants to do, let her carry on. We've told her, but it's a bit of that, isn't it, really?
Yeah, it can be a car crash, and as I was joking during the break, because we get blinkered, there are often people around us and they just literally watch us walk into that wall, and they must be going, oh, and they think they're psychic, do they? Never saw that coming. But it is like that for us, because if we get a slight insight, we go, aha, and we'll walk round it. And try and dodge the bullet. So we have to be completely blindsided, whereas other people, they have a little bit of insight or common sense, whatever you want to call it, and think this is not looking good, whereas we don't, to learn the lesson. So it's it's quite a thing.
Bunnies many a time, as we would say.
Absolutely. You're also involved in something that I've had some experience of, although I do prefer to leave it to professionals like yourself and others, and that's entity removal. And we kind of touched on that when you said that you were hoping to pass and praying, and there was a bit of interference there. How did you get into entity removal, and what's your most vivid encounter, if we can put it that way?
I do a lot of entity removal, and I do a lot of energy removal work as well, where people have done things to other people through use of, people would call it magic, dark art, stuff like that. I think the most powerful magic I've had to deal with was what I call snake magic. I didn't even know it existed. I just trusted my guides. They showed me what to do. I then researched afterwards to discover that. But entity-wise, the majority of the time, it's, there's different layers of entities. There's those who don't pass because they are so connected to someone here they can't bear to go. And you have those that don't realize they passed or don't know what to do when they pass. It sounds crazy, but it's true. And then you do have those that have led such hard, dark, violent, or whatever lives that suddenly have what I term the fear of God put through them, and are frightened to pass because they're frightened of what will meet them on the other side.
Yep.
And these are the souls that are what I term between worlds. So many were simply passing over into light, but not all will go that way. And sometimes we have to pass them into dark so that they are removed from the body and mind of the person that is afflicted, I'll call it, by that entity. But you get it in property as well as on people. There's two levels again in that. You can have that in property as well as attached to people, but it drains the life of those within the environment.
Absolutely. And I mean, when we're talking about property, we're talking essentially of two types of thing, aren't we? We're talking about houses or buildings as types of property, but that energy can physically be connected to an object too, can't it?
Yeah, it can be. Inherited items often have such strong energy of the person that it can almost hold them in that space. That there is another form of energy within buildings which will create the sensation of an entity, but it's actually not. I identify this, I use the word a diva, and you identify this because it obviously is black shadow, but don't get me wrong, black energy, black spirit isn't always darkness. It's just that's the quickest way to, they've only put the light on for us, But dark energy can form, and you know it when it's got red eyes. And what that is, in my experience at least, is when a property has had so much negativity go on that it's almost able to create a physical form and appear to be something present in the building. And you get that in houses where there's been year after year history of domestic violence, real violent abuse, or castles, and where there's been battles and trauma after trauma and blood and guts and all. Do you know what I mean? It can be just the build-up of that energy of experience is so strong, it can appear to the human eye to be a physical form, but it's actually not. And that's space clearing work.
And I know exactly what you're talking about there, because the basis of Wicca or witchcraft, or part of it, is the creation of thought forms that are directed or projected at people. And once the thought forms are manufactured, if you like, they do have a mind of their own. So I understand exactly what you're saying. If there's a lot of aggressive thought, it does build up, it does collect.
It goes somewhere. It's like the energy of the planet, isn't it? People say about war and all the rest of it. And we're all responsible for that because we're all creating that energetically. Our negativity has to go somewhere. And I just think it goes like to like, and it attracts there,
Yeah, and of course, lots of people, I mean, I say especially in this time, but I think it happens in everybody's lifetime, really. There is such an awareness and a fear of war and, what could go on and, atomic warfare, etc. And of course, all those negative thoughts, they collect and they actually add to the problem, don't they, rather than detract from it. So,
it's fear. The divide is between fear and love, and you have to choose which side of that fence you sit in. When was it that they said the world was going to end and there'd be two worlds and all of that?
It was supposed to be 2012, wasn't it?
Yeah, but that did take place, but it took place energetically. There we are living in two worlds now. Those two worlds being, there are people on this planet choosing to live in love, or there are people on this planet choosing to live in fear predominantly. And you can see it in daily life, which side of that fence people are living on. And those that live in love can't actually engage as much or for long periods of time with those who are very fear-based, because, it's like rubbing a cheese grater up your arm. It's very abrasive energy to be in if that's not the basis of your own energy. And that's what I feel took place then, was this real divide in the world. So that is two worlds living in unison here, but one is a group of people sat in love, and the other is the group of people sat in fear. and
Yeah.
creating through fear, not creating through love. That's the two worlds that we live in, and we choose to live between them.
I can understand that, because there is a sharp divide, and I think personally that there was a big shift in vibration which highlighted that divide, that black and white. Of course, skeptics leapt on that because they looked at the Mayan calendars and other calendars, and they said, well, psychics say that this is the end of the world. But as you've succinctly put it, and I know as well, is that it was the end of the world as we knew it. It wasn't energetic.
Yes.
It was a spiritual thing.
Yes.
And of course, they all joined in the laughter and go, "Oh, we're still here. Look, 2 minutes past midnight, and we're still here."
Yeah.
But that's some skeptics for you. It's nice that you've brought up about entities and people not knowing they've passed, because so many people fear that transition, that moment. Yeah, it's very true to say so many are not aware of that passing. They find themselves with loved ones, and it's like something's happened, because that fear's built up, isn't it? It's going to be this, it's going to be that, it's going to be horrible. So,
yeah. And you find, people who don't realise they've passed, it's often through tragic passings. 1 minute they're on a motorbike, the next minute they're bouncing down the road, but not realising that, what's really happened to the physical body and things like that. It can take a while for it to sink in. What I find is often by the point of funeral, because obviously they stay very close to body, but by funeral time that they realise, they do realise. And the world is full of mediums like myself and you who are Passover mediums. Some people, that is all they do. And their role is to help these people find their way. It's, just like you would if someone was lost on the streets of London or wherever, you'd do your best to help them, wouldn't you? If you're a decent person, then you would do your best to help them. So we do our bit.
Yeah, we do. And I think, because, yes, accidents happen. And even if we were living in the Stone Age, you can fall down a crevice, off a cliff, get hit by a tree. But the natural way of passing is to slowly wind down and very slowly eject. And you find the Aborigines do that. They understand that when the time is close, they go walkabout. And normally walkabout is an exploration or go find food or whatever. But they will do that a few weeks before they're going to pass. And they'll just go and sit under a tree and wind down naturally. And, hopefully, it happens in our sleep or whatever. But it's the sudden ejection, caused by war, by bombs. It's that sudden ejection which is against the norm. And,
But, it's like with hauntings, for want of a better word. These spirits are often coming back because it's what's familiar to them. They're not stuck, they're in visitation, but they're going to what feels familiar to them, and it's that love, isn't it? It's still even love then, that they will come back to, like the soldiers who go back to the digs, back to where they were, to that team spirit and that family of the soldiers they fought with. It's that sense of love and belonging that will draw them back, just as spirits that are constantly sat in their family's living room. I did a reading last week for a mother and two daughters, and the grandfather came through, and it was hysterical. He knew everything that they had been up to that week, as well as a grandmother with a very strong opinion about the boyfriend that had just been dumped, thank God. Because if she hadn't got rid of him, I think I'd never got her off subject in the reading. You don't change. I always say to people, who you are here in this living body is who you will be in your eternity. So sort yourself out while you can. Stop being miserable.
Exactly. Yeah.
We
Because
don't
people
change.
again, people have this, and usually it would be religious people. They have this idea that when we pass, we'll suddenly acquire a harp and some wings, and off we go to a cloud.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah,
I will argue that to the Golden Gates. I will argue that one.
yeah. But people have these very odd things, and so I think that's sometimes what makes it very hard to understand that indistinguishable line where you're exactly the same 1 second after as you were. And so, they expect all these things. And when it doesn't happen, it's like, I know there's been a change. I'm not quite sure why.
Yeah, they just unzipped the physical suit because it was too heavy to bear any longer.
Yeah, I like that
it's
phrase.
as simple as that. Yeah. It's and they just stepped out of body. They don't go far. I just don't believe anymore that spirit go very far.
Yeah.
They continue the journey, just walking alongside us. And, it's like bodies get tired, don't they? When you're, I don't know, 85, 95, whatever these days, your body gets tired. Of course it does.
Yeah.
Of course it does. Because everything gets represented in the body. Every emotion, every experience sits in that body. And that's where the healing comes in. I do a lot of healing work. I'm a big believer in, losing the baggage, as I call it, out of the aura to preserve your body longer so that you have a healthier physical life. It's all part of this journey now, is to take care of your energetic self, just like you go to the gym or you go to, the dentist and things like this. You have to take care of your energy self as well. It's important.
It's very important because, when we come here and we decide what experiences we're going to have and who we're going to mix with and that, we can sometimes get through all the tests fairly quick and then decide, actually, I'm done and leave. Or sometimes we do kind of stretch it out, don't we? And we can't extend our life in that sense, but we can just say, well, perhaps old age is something I really want to experience as well. So there's a lot of free will in that, isn't there? But some do return home. They say the good die young, but I don't actually believe that. I think there are times when we sometimes get a choice. My ex-mother-in-law, she had a near-death experience, and she went through the tunnel, and she was implored to go with her family and that kind of thing. And she said, no, I can't. There's too much to do. So I think to a point, we have a choice, but not always.
Absolutely, because I've had one of those moments when my youngest child was a year old. Absolutely. I think we have moments where we can opt out. I really do. And as we would call them, they're near-death experiences. I do believe in that as well.
I read a very interesting one where this I think it was a gentleman, and he'd felt the love and the warmth and everything there and wanted to stay. And so they took a little time to persuade him, and they said, look, if you stay, this is what you're going to experience. This is what you're going to do. This is some of the good that you can do. And he kind of understood it, but wasn't having it really. And that took a long time to persuade him. And in the end, he could see actually that if he got some of the things done in this life, then he wouldn't necessarily need to come back. And he was persuaded to do that. I can't think who it was. I'm sure the gentleman's written a book, but yeah.
All right. Okay. I shall look for that then.
Yeah. There's a lot of them now, aren't they?
Oh gosh, yeah.
And we're continually redefining death. At one point it was, if you were quite cold, then it was if you weren't breathing, then it was, when the heart's physically stopped, then it was brain dead. But you hear such wonderful stories, and there was a guy that had a heart attack and hit a truck, and he was actually dead for 4 hours. No brain activity at all, and from talking to doctors and that, I think it's 10 or 15 seconds, 20 seconds, half a minute perhaps, with no oxygen. There's no way back. And this guy, I did post this some time ago, and this guy was in a hospital bed, hooked up to all kinds of machines and that. No way was he ever going to come back. And he sat up and he started talking normally and joking. And the doctors could not believe there was no brain damage at all. And he'd been dead for 4 hours. So, we can't really say, 5 minutes without oxygen, that's it. We're continually refining it. And I think it's part of Spirit's plan for people to have these experiences and then tell the rest of us, because it does take that fear away, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, you know my views. It's like my attitude, rightly or wrongly, is I'm not here to convince anyone that there is an afterlife. I'm not here for that. I'm here to help those that need help within it. Because I am a firm believer in you have to have a personal experience. I could sit here and probably rattle away 8 hours worth of experiences that I've walked through, because it just goes on and on and on. It's ridiculous. I would bore you to death, to be honest. But until you have a personal experience, the majority of people won't quite believe it until they've had that personal experience. And it's whether you're destined to have that. There's many layers to life.
Yeah, I mean, I never try and convince anyone, skeptics or whatever, and because we don't know what their plan is. They may need to live a skeptical life to
serve purpose. That's their purpose. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, well, we're going to go into a break shortly. So if you would like a reading from Samantha, you can get her on www.needapsychic.co.uk, or you can find her on Twitter, on Skype. At Twitter, it's @HeadDiva, HeadDiva, or on Skype, mystic_Samantha. So we'll be straight back after this.
This is the voice of Spirit, your connection to the other side.
To understand something spiritually, you must experience it. And in order to experience it, you have to experience it in your imagination.
Explore with us by calling 702-425-9230. That's 702-425-9230.
Give us a call now.
Worldwide callers use Skype name KCOR Radio.
Everything that now exists was once imagined. Therefore, everything that is going to exist must first be imagined.
Back with your guide to spirit, Leo Bonomo.
Leo Bonomo.
After these brief words from our sponsors.
"1 million miles till midnight. A story of timelines, artificial worlds, simulated races, and the galactic imprint, and the destiny of a blue world called Earth. 1 million miles till midnight, written by Solaris Blue Raven, is a journey through the mind's eye which allows the reader to surf a wave of technological and multidimensional intellect, revealing a bridge between conscious design and the truth. A multidimensional bleed-through awakens the world of artificial intelligence to set sail into the frontiers of a vast multiverse, morphing planets and terraforming ascended worlds beyond the linear programs of a fated race. 1 million miles till midnight will awaken, inspire, prepare, and enlighten one to the many multidimensional states of consciousness and worlds we reside in. With every cell and atom, We are this truth and multiverse. 1 Million Miles Till Midnight. Written by Solaris Blue Raven. Available now at Amazon.com and GlenNT.com. Don't wait. Get your copy today.
That's good.
Turn your radio up.
I love it. All the music I want to hear. This is my station.
If ever a breed was affectionate to a fault, it's the Golden Retriever. They're people dogs, pure and simple. And the Golden Retriever Rescue of Southern Nevada needs your help. If you would like to volunteer, foster, adopt, or donate, go to the Golden Retriever Rescue of Southern Nevada's website at grrsn.org. That's grrsn.org. Or call 598-GOLD. That's 598-GOLD.
Paranormal radio never sounded so good. Join the hosts of the American Ghost Hunter Show each week as they shoot from the hip without holding back.
They're kind of unpredictable, not like the rest of us.
Live every Thursday night, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, right here on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. Come hear some of the hottest authors, investigators, as well as TV and radio personalities from around the world
On the American Ghost Hunter Show.
Our survival depends upon it.
Hauntings, UFOs, cryptos.
If it's branded paranormal, we'll be talking about it. The American Ghost Hunter Show. Live Thursday nights, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. Exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. The only question you have to ask yourself, are you ready for it?
Yeah! All right!
Welcome back to the Voice of Spirit, your connection to the other side.
There's no accidents in this universe. We all show up here with a purpose. There's an intelligence that is a part of everything and everyone, and all of us are connected to it.
Connect with us on Twitter by using hashtag KCOR. Even better, join us live in our chat room at kcorradio.com. To get a free reading during the show, call 702-425-9230. That's 702-425-9230.
Give us a call now.
Worldwide callers use Skype name KCOR Radio. And now, inspirational clairvoyant medium, psychic, and your connection to the spirit, the host of the Voice of Spirit, Leo Bonomo.
Hi, welcome back. It's the last segment, and my God, doesn't it go quick? An hour and a half already. We've got a wonderful Sam here, Samantha Jayne, very good friend, medium, ghost hunter, entity remover. It's. I think it's actually good to have all-round experience, because there's so much to learn, isn't there? And I learn something every day, thank God. But I think if you're well-rounded, in a spiritual sense, you're grounded as well, because you understand how things fit together. You've got a more complete picture.
Exactly.
And some people are very narrow.
You can find yourself in situations, can't you? You can suddenly find yourself spiritually, energetically in a situation. You have to have that knowledge. A spirit will teach you in that moment, and that's how I've been taught everything. But, I'm completely spirit trained. But I've needed these tools. They keep sending me back in. I try to resign from doing specific things, but they keep sending. I was in Reading last week doing clearing work. I keep saying, no, enough. But they keep sending me back in. So, gotta keep going where you're sent, doing what you're put here to do.
Yeah. Well, the nice thing is, we have got free will. And I found myself being, if I say pushed into developing and doing this work, spirit cannot take our free will, but it's for us, it's sometimes a not so gentle reminder that, hey, you made a promise. This is what you come for. Get on with it. And you do get dumped in situations, don't you?
Yeah. And I've tried to quit so many times, Leo. I've given up trying to quit. I've stood in my living room shouting and screaming at them many a time, after they've put me through stuff and people's stuff, and, but I love it. And I always end up back here. It's like, for God's sake, pack it in, Sam. You're not giving up whatsoever. Yeah, go to bed.
Sleep on it. We'll wake you in the morning. Yeah. Well, it's very important, isn't it, to test spirit? And I went through a period where they were pushing for me to officially develop and get a taste of that training and how that works, I suppose in a slightly commercial sense. And I kept saying, no, if you want me to do it, you've got to give me a sign. And went through that lots of times, and it wasn't exactly forthcoming. And then I had a dream one night, and I saw this gentleman who I didn't know, never heard of him. He's a great medium as well, international medium, Robert Brown. And he came to me in a dream, and he said, you need to go to the SAGB, and you need to talk to a medium called Jerry March. You go and join her circle. So I thought, okay, SAGB, I'll go along. And I went to see Jerry, and she thought at that particular time wasn't exactly right for me. So I'm thinking, ignoring the fact that these two people had been mentioned who I'd never heard of, I thought, that shows you then, doesn't it? And I actually ended up for a short time in Robert Brown's circle. And then when the next kind of block started, I did join Jerry. So for me, that was a very positive, can't miss the sign sort of thing, because I think we can talk ourselves into things, can't we, when we think, well, was it that? Did I just interpret that? And so I think people like you and I, we go, no, definite, make it plain as day, and then I'll think about it, rather than then I'll do it. And then we ask for something else, don't we? Because I think for us, we're quite demanding like that, aren't we?
Demanding? Me? Never, Leo. Never. No, not at all. I have no idea what you're talking about. I find spirit demanding at times, but I love it as well. I love it. It's like when they want you to go, because I work on the angelics level for the clearing of space. And, I explain to people that, the sat-nav will often fail or send you off on a completely different route. And then all of a sudden reroute you back in. And it's like, I know what they're doing. They're making you pass your energy through an area to cast some healing into it. Does that make sense? Have you had that experience?
Yeah. Well, I have. I was being interviewed by a lovely gentleman. I'm sure you've heard of him, Paul Salmon, and he's also known as Eternal Spirit, and he had Eternal Spirit magazine, which he ran for a long time. He's interviewed everybody, and I mean everybody. Yeah. And he also does. It's now a YouTube show, and he invited me down. He was doing a new series and wanted me to do the first interview on the new series. So I went down. I can't remember where it was. I think it was Suffolk, or was it Norwich or somewhere? I can't remember. And I got to most of the way there, and then the sat-nav said turn left, and it looked like a track between two fields.
Yeah.
I thought, okay, so I've gone down there, got to this road, and it said turn left, and I thought, okay, and the track's getting narrower, and then it's got to the bottom of that, and it's gone turn left, and I thought, you're having a laugh, I'm going in circles here. And so I turned left, and it eventually led me to this road, and then it did say turn left again, and I'm thinking, oh God, and it turned into a little side road, and then it was being filmed in a pub, and the pub that I wanted was across the road. So I thought, that's really odd. And I was chatting to Paul and said, "Oh, I nearly didn't get here," and his manager and that. And she said, "You know what you've done, don't you?" I said, "I don't know this area at all." And it was the most ancient woods in that county. All kinds of horrendous things have gone on, and I've done a complete circle, more or less, of that.
I see. Casting light and energy. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was just very odd, because the thing was, I thought on this path, some of the sides were quite steep. If a car comes the other way, there's nowhere to go. So all the time, and this was like a couple of miles, and the next left was like 3 or 4 miles, and I'm thinking, I don't know where the hell I am, but I need to keep going. I can't reverse all this way. So it took me on the boundary of this whole field. So it's quite odd how they can affect things like GPS. I mean, it's all electromagnetic energy anyway, isn't it?
Yeah, but, exactly.
Yeah, so so that kind of thing has happened to me. It's happened on a couple of occasions, but I was just amazed. I'd done a full tour of this quite magical woods.
Yeah, nice. Did you feel different after?
No, just frustrated.
The human self kicked in, didn't it, Leo?
Yeah. Because I'm sitting there looking at my watch thinking, I've got to be in this place in 10 minutes. I've no idea where I am.
Yeah, and that is the thing, isn't it? Spirit have no concept of time.
Yeah.
Don't you think? That's one thing I always say to people, when they're saying, "Oh, I have this spirit wake me up every night." I say, well, tell it to pack in. You have to have your boundaries, and you have to tell them when you need to sleep and when you need to eat and things like that. You have to train spirit as well, because they just have they very quickly lose when passing that concept.
Yeah.
Of time
It's the same, isn't it, when you go on holiday for 2 or 3 weeks and you've not seen the TV or the radio or read any papers, and you do, in that short span, you do kind of lose track of what day that might be. So if you think about, because again, there's no time there, they've been over there 100 years. I mean, I can't imagine how for them, it's a matter of when the time is right. So there's an opportune moment, but they don't have a sense of time, do they?
No, not at all. But saying that, when I will have it where I've got clients booked in, I had that this week as well already, and I will wake up in the morning and I've got physical symptoms. I will, again, being human, think at first that it's me, just sort of dismiss it and muddle through, and then realise in my first appointment that I've had someone with me waiting to begin the session.
Yeah.
And it's like that. And if those people are late for their appointment, I have spirit sort of sat with me, tapping on their watch, most put out.
I know. I get that sometimes with readings. When they're ready to go, and I get that. Oh, sorry, it's time. Yeah.
Yeah, and also it's the personalities. As I said before, people maintain their personalities. And if you've got someone that would come in, do something, and then carry on and be about their business, no time for niceties, no chit chat, and they do exactly the same, and it's like, oh, okay, well, thank you for that then. Is there anybody else? Do you know what I mean? Because it's like they've said their 3 sentences and they've gone now. They don't even stop to listen to the response or any of that. It amuses me so much, the different personalities that people have. Yeah. And when you work with them in spirit, it really does bring it home to you that people will always remain the same. And I describe a lot of people, because it's like a generation thing, isn't it? I will say to people, I've got this lady coming through, and the first thing she reminds me is my great-gran, because my great-gran was head of family, and she may have only been 4 foot something, but you didn't mess with this lady. And that's how it used to be, isn't it, with that generation? But but I love all that.
Yeah. I was doing a reading and it was booked for 20 minutes, and about 10, 11 minutes in, this guy that was chatting, and I never remember readings unless there's a lesson for me or my students.
Yeah.
And this guy did exactly that. He went, right, that's it, I'm off. And there was complete there was complete silence, and this was a booked reading through a company. So I'm sitting there thinking someone else will step in.
Yeah.
No, they will. They will. Yeah. And I said to this lady, "I'm really sorry. That's what he's done." And she went, "Oh, he was always doing that." So it was proof of his personality as well.
And that's kind of where but I've had the opposite of that, where I've had an old lady come for a reading. A man has stepped in. I won't use the language that she used, but I said, I've got blah, 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 blah here. And she said, well, you can tell him to beep, beep, beep off because I do not want to speak to him. And with that, everything, I shut down like metal shutters going on a shop. He disappeared and it was like, and everything shut down. The whole of spirit world beep, beep, beeped off because they thought, well, if that's your attitude, you can beep, beep off. Do you know what I mean? And I sat there like, okay, this is interesting.
Yeah. It's quite funny the questions people ask. And, you know, sometimes you do sit there and you do think, you don't need a medium. You need counselling, whether it's mental or otherwise. Yeah. And I was doing a reading for a lady, and it was very short because of the nature of what came up. But she said, I put a postcard through my boyfriend's door. Did he get it? That was 4 years ago. And that grounded me straight away. And I think, you need to get a life, you know, because it's common sense. If he hasn't answered in 4 years, he's telling you something, you know. And it was just so strange. I was so shocked. I got grounded, you know.
Yeah. It bounces you out your link because aren't people crazy? I had a lady, this is one for the book when I finish writing it. I had a lady was emailing me all the time, upping the financial offer to me. I've never done it. I will never, ever do this, even if she gets to £1 million offer. Emailing me, asking me to email the ex-boyfriend, make out he has won a reading in a competition, and in that reading, tell him he needs to get back with her.
Oh, that's terrible. Isn't it?
How crazy is that? You know, and even if she ups the offer to £1 million, I will still not do it. But that's how crazy people think.
Yeah.
Obsessed. And that's not love, that's control, and that's bullying, isn't it? But that is not love. But they are adamant that this person is the one.
Yeah. I've read for some Asians as well, and they're very much into karma and that kind of, which you tend to think always very spiritual and that. Yeah. And sometimes the theme has come through is, are they going to get their karma? And I said, well, that's not for us to say. It could be in this life. It could be in another life. Oh, no, I definitely want him to get it. And really what they're talking about is revenge, you know. And I want to know what's going to happen to him. I hope he has a really crap life. Yeah. And it's like, this is not quite what we're supposed to be used for. But they, you know, it's strange, isn't it? Lots of people will quote karma when it's in their favor, like, when you know, you're going to get yours. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
so the karma bus is coming. I love it. Yes. But I do have to say, I put my hand up. I totally and utterly believe in karma. And, you know, it is a joke in my house with my children that, you know, we have a lot of laughter together, and I'll take the mickey out of one of them and turn around and stub my toe. And the joke in the house is that instant karma. Do you know what I mean? It's you're instantly kicked back in your place. But I do believe in karma, actually. I do really believe in karma. I've been watching this series on TV with the American actor about God, different religions and stuff of God. And I think it's Buddhist and Hindu. My thoughts are so close to Hinduism when it comes to karma and life path and passing over into the divine and stuff like that. It's quite fascinating. But yes, karma will get you in the end.
It will. And I've found that the more spiritual you are, the quicker the karma comes back, almost instant. You know, and you step out of line and it is bang, there you go.
Oh yeah, that's why I keep tripping up and stubbing my toes when I take the mick out of people.
Because it's quite funny that sometimes the people who are very less spiritual, others say, "Oh God, they seem to get away with everything. They do this, they do that. Look at the money they've got." But it's I sit there and think, well, yeah, they've got another life which is not going to be quite like that at some point.
I always say to people in these scenarios, semi-jokingly, that these are young souls, these are new energy, these are young souls. Don't worry about it. They're being tricked into coming back again.
Well,
they'll come back again.
Tell me if you feel like this, because I certainly did. I saw my first spirit at 2, and running up to 2, I don't think I was that much of a happy baby. I would say I had the raving ump, because I realised I'd come here from somewhere, had the feeling that I'd been tricked into it in some way, and wasn't very happy.
Yeah.
It's.
Have you had an in-between lives hypnosis then? I had hypnosis done on my birth because I had a traumatic birth, and it was kept replaying in this lifetime. So I had a hypnosis done with a guy called Paul to go back through the birth. Well, that was pleasant, wasn't it? But go back through the birth to come as if I'd been born differently in a more pleasant experience. But what happened with what happened unexpectedly was I went into a life between lives stage. And that was fascinating. For me, it was fascinating. So I was sat in a classroom, as it were, everything white. As far as I could see, everything white. No offence, Leo, all female energies in there. Someone knocked on the door and said, "You've got to come now." And I said, "I haven't finished the training." And this woman said, "No, you've got no time. You have to come now." And the next thing I know, I'm in the room screaming and crying, newborn baby. But I was born premature.
Ah, that's interesting, isn't it? Because again, you'd think if you did have a little bit of reluctance and might change your mind, and obviously they know that it's good for you, and ultimately we do, although we might not be happy with it. We ultimately know, it's experience. But I can imagine people kind of pulling out, and because lots of people say they don't want to come back. But
you get that after meditation, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. And what people don't realise is that what we can achieve in 20 here might take a few hundred years in spirit. I mean, because they haven't got time, it will fly anyway. So I don't see that as any contest, No. But there are things here that we can't learn in spirit. And one of them, if you think about the simple act of learning to walk, it takes you a long time to get used to the body. So you can't experience that in spirit. There's no equivalent of it. So I find it interesting that they say, well, you need this and you need that. And you think, no, it's not a good idea. And they go, well, just take a look. And you sort of look and they push you out the window. It's good for you. As my mum used to say when there was something horrible to eat, you'll enjoy it. One of her sayings, which I love, and it's an old English thing, and she used to say, "Don't do that if I was misbehaving. It will make your ears red." And I only asked once, and I said, "What do you mean?" And she slapped me across both ears. So I thought, okay, I've got that. That's not happening again. So yeah, and it's that kind of thing, I think, from spirit. No, it's good for you. It's good for you. You think, well, it is, but no, thanks. And then there you are.
The next thing you know,
I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure if I would enjoy it. Not because I wouldn't enjoy the experience. I would love the experience. But I get this little feeling of, I really don't want to come back. That's what it's like. Take me now. And like you, we've got so much to do in this life, haven't we? I want to get it done and then not come back. So it's a strange thing. Have you had any premonitions about your own passing or anything like that? Because we sometimes do.
No, but because I'm a physical medium, so when I do my client work, I physically experience the death of everybody who comes through me because they sit in my body and feel it. I've made this pact: I'm going in my sleep, or I'm not going at all.
Well, I'm hoping to.
Suicide, you name it. I've felt the lot,
Yeah, I've had quite a few like that, and I'm hoping this time. I've said, if it's meant to be. I've been murdered quite a few times. I'd just like to go in my sleep. And it has kind of been confirmed that maybe that would be it. In essence, it doesn't matter, does it, whether you're hit by a truck? As you say, it's instant and that's it.
Yeah.
So it's been so interesting talking to you. We've nearly done 2 hours.
Yay! Who knew I could talk for 2 hours? Everybody around me, actually.
Yeah, it's everyone nudging each other.
I didn't think I could.
Absolutely. So we're just going to give out your details again. So if anybody wants to call Samantha, it's www.needapsychic.co.uk, or it's 44794 837 2965, or at Head Diva, all one word, Twitter, or Mystic_Samantha. So it's been a wonderful experience. Thank you so much, and we will talk.
Thank you.
God bless you.
Have a great evening. Take care. Bye.
You've been listening to Leo Bonomo, the host of The Voice of Spirit. Live every Thursday, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. For more information on the show, guests, and host of The Voice of Spirit, or to book a private reading, please visit leo-bonomo.com. That's leo-bonomo.com. Your connection to the other side is just a phone call away. The Voice of Spirit.
It is amazing, is it not?
This is KCOR Las Vegas, home of the Digital Radio Network, broadcasting from a shack just south of Area 51.
Wait, that doesn't exist.
This is the KCOR Digital Radio Network. Now for the news.